spoke an incredible message that I remember nothing about whatsoever except its title. And I believe in the power of preaching. That's why I'm having a go. I believe its impact in our lives. And you know, when this man spoke, he simply said these words, "You build my house," the Lord says, "and I'll build yours." I stood back and I thought to myself, that's a good deal. If you want to think in deal, if you want to be a deal maker, that's a good deal. I do my part, he does his part. Guess who's better at this? Is he better than you, or are you better than him? Who's going to build the best house? So I give my resource, I give my energy, I give my focus, I buy into his cause, and he looks after me. That's a good deal. And something impacted our lives at that point. I had the privilege, his name was Mike Murphy, and those of you know he was here in March, and he's been here a number of times through the years. Mike Murphy really just ministered to us and encouraged us in that vein as a church in those days. It was the old Lawn Street Church where Moore Wilson's is now. You build my house and I'll build yours. And in 1996, next year, remember the Lord really spoke to us, it's the right time to invest. You might say, "Oh, Rob, pastors shouldn't be having those thoughts." You know, we get past those lies. Yeah, we keep past it. The Lord drops in opportunities to us and we keep having a go. And so for Fiona and I, we did some stuff investment-wise at a personal level, in the sense of in houses, and bought a couple of houses, and it just happened. It wasn't difficult, it wasn't stressful, it just happened. And I share this for this reason, to keep opening up opportunities to you. But in 1999, we went to Hillsong. And we've had a team at Hillsong this week, and I trust they come back as equipped and fired up as we did. But I went just one session, 1.5 hour session, probably 3/4 of an hour session after lunch on one of the days. If you're a speaker, you don't want the session after lunch because that's when everyone goes a bit dozy. But you know, there was 30 people in a very ordinary room, and this medical doctor stood up and he said this: "We have a building program in front of us that I wanted to be a part of." And he prayed and he said, "Lord, how do I do this?" And he looked at his own resource and he thought he could do a bit of this, but it just wasn't big enough for what he wanted to do. And so he said, the Lord just began to show him about developing properties. And so he's a medical doctor, but he was developing properties. And he just showed us how to do it. And he just talked about it, just numbers, figures. And I came back and I thought, that's it, that's how you do it. And just something got a hold of my life, my business head with my pastor's heart connected together. And so that was in 1996. And since that time, we approached a number of couples, a number of different situations that we knew, men and women called by God, that we wanted to get behind them and see them excel in what they did. We wanted to resource them. I remember opening my mouth first time to Sam and Carol Sakota. I said, "Sam and Carol, we'd love to somehow get a house going for you guys here in New Zealand, but we don't know how, but we'd love to have a go." And Wayne Alcorn's words ring in my ear as he spoke them last year to us. I don't know how faith works, but it just does. And as you open your mouth, as you begin to move, the Lord opens up stuff to you. And church, as we did that with a number of couples, a number of situations over the next couple of years, it was amazing what has opened up. So you touch something that's close to the heart of God. You touch something with this into, you take your candle and go to light something else. It's amazing what starts. I want to speak over each one of you, your current resource. Never measure your life on your current resource, and never measure your life on your future resource. It does not define you. Forgiven people are defined by what they're forgiven, by Jesus Christ, not by what we own. But you know, as we kept pushing this stuff, as we talked to them, as we kept praying, the Lord opens up doors. And we did that in a number of different situations. We got other people involved in different settings. But to be honest, for Fiona and I, it's been one of the greatest privileges of our lives to journey with people on this sort of journey. As a church, we've journeyed in the same journey. We moved to this building in 1996. Again, people got around us and it's a good time to invest. And so we looked at different situations. We moved from the old building to this building, but we didn't have the resource to buy it. If we'd allowed our resource at that point as a church to define us, we would not be here today. In fact, I believe we wouldn't exist today. Moore Wilsons would have eventually squeezed us out because they would have wanted parking and everything else. Lawn Street is not the spot to be. And so we wouldn't exist today if we allowed our resource to define us. But we are the people of God. We knew we were a church defined and called to touch nations. That's who we are. That's what we do. And so as we began to push, we realised we couldn't buy this place in a natural sense, so we leased it. We leased it from the owner, and we said to him if we'd love to have the opportunity to buy it. And so we locked in a purchase clause within 2 years. And he didn't want to sell it, he just wanted to lease it. New Zealand Couriers were here, we moved in, we redecked the place as basically as we could. And many of you are involved. How many of you are involved in those days? Yeah. Great learning curve, eh, Mark? Whew. But you know, in the middle of that, the people that day in our church here put together $70,000 as an offering. And that $70,000 was like a trigger that opened up the possibility of owning this place. You might say, well, Rob, but how does that work? Because you get into a place and you start. And the Lord honours faith. He honours that sense of just stepping into, having a go. You just keep, Lord, is this you? And you just keep having a go. The owner of this New Zealand Couriers warehouse gave us the key one day and said, go and have a look, keep hold of the key for a week, show your people around.